amazing grace of God. It is an invasion of the sovereign love of God, penetrating the gap of darkness with the overwhelming power of His marvelous light. It bridges the gap between man and God. Take a journey through the amazing grace of God with your host, Sarah Abraham, as she shares the compelling stories of those who walked in His covenant and have overcome by the amazing grace of God. Join us weekdays this fall for Amazing Grace with Sarah Abraham.
Welcome to Amazing Grace. I'm your host, Sarah Abraham. From all of us at Destiny TV, we want to wish you a blessed and wonderful new year. Hopefully 2016 is the best year of your life, your healthy year, that we can fight diseases, we can fight poverty, we can fight whatever the devil has thrown. You know, we want to fight it with the amazing grace of God. We are going to go into another section with this amazing woman of God, Jenny Hrbacek. We talked about her story, about her cancer, the journey through it. But now in this session, I want to talk about the nutrition. What we can do, things that is in our grocery stores, things that we can find it easily and prevent the dreadful disease, cancer. Jenny, take it away.
Hi, thank you for having me back. Goodness, before we started the show, we were just talking about all the antibiotic resistance that is coming up. And people, when we go to the doctor, we want an antibiotic. And I'm guilty of that. I remember going on a cruise in Mexico and going to the little pharmacy and getting some antibiotic just to have on hand if I needed some. Right, just in case. I had no idea how bad that is, because our immune system is a huge part of it. 60-70% comes from the gut. All of the immunoglobulins and stuff are around the gut. And when we don't take care of our digestive tract, then the immune system can really falter. And there's so many, just as we take the antibiotics, we don't realize when we take an antibiotic, we're killing the gut flora. Right, we're killing it off. And then we never think to go, the doctor gives you the prescription, you know, if you have a cold or some kind of bacterial infection, but he never tells you, hey, you better rebuild that. And in the meantime, we're going to restaurants and we're eating meat that's from a confined feeding operation where they're giving the hormones and the antibiotics. And people are overweight because they give the hormones to make the animals grow big. And they give the antibiotics because they're in such close quarters. And so every time you eat a burger from a fast food place or even a steak from a really nice restaurant, if it's not grass-fed organic, you're getting a little dose of these antibiotics, so you're wiping out your gut flora. And then we have people taking antibiotics and, oh, well, the antibiotic didn't work, so they're having to give you a stronger antibiotic and a stronger and a stronger and a stronger, and we're building up antibiotic resistance. And it's not just, and so say let's say I take lots of antibiotics and you don't. I don't, but we're just using that for an example. But the people who are taking the antibiotics can affect me, because if I end up with that bacteria or that bug that they've let grow and become resistant, I get it in my body, it's still hard to get rid of.
Because you're not prepared. Your body does not have
So it doesn't follow the person. We're creating this new crop of antibiotic resistant bacteria. And the people who don't even use antibiotics can get a hold of one of those bacteria and it's already resistant. So for them, it's still going to take a lot of medication to get rid of it.
Like the flu vaccine.
Yes.
You take the flu vaccine this year, okay, you're fine. Next year, that virus comes back with...
I don't believe in the flu vaccine.
I don't either.
I do a vitamin D.
I worked in the health industry.
I do a vitamin D protocol. You can Google it on the internet. It's incredibly effective. Plus, it's good for your body. You take like 50,000 units of vitamin D, 4 of those pills the first day, and then 3, and then 2, and then 1. Just Google it. Just put vitamin D natural flu vaccine. Because I believe that when God created us, so a beautiful baby is born, He didn't say, oh, I made a mistake. I forgot to do the immune system. You better give that baby some shots.
This many shots.
And we are giving so many immunizations, Sarah, that we're messing with the immune system. Think about that. We're messing with it. And I talk about in my book getting a simple nagalase test. And nagalase is an enzyme that's put out by viruses. And viruses are in all, they're everywhere. We're getting injected with viral particles and vaccines. They put off nagalase. And nagalase suppresses the immune system. I'm not a big fan of it, but I've had a lot of them. I've worked in hospitals. I was forced to get the hepatitis vaccine. We're giving our girls these HPV vaccines.
I didn't
These
do
girls they're not out doing
They're
what
not,
it's not even a
No.
necessary activity.
That's when the school came out with it, I refused it. I signed a note, no, I don't want
Right.
my daughter to get it.
Right, right.
She better know what's
So,
right, what's wrong, and
right.
she won't do it.
Right, so we have to be our own advocate,
We
and it
have to
has
be.
to do with, I have a couple
Knowledge.
scriptures that I just love. Go
ahead, read it.
Okay, so Ecclesiastes 7:17, be not overly wicked nor be foolish. Why should you die before your time? Okay, so that would indicate that maybe there's things we can do that can cause us to die early, correct?
Yes.
But then on the same night, in the same Bible we have Psalm 91:16 that says, with long life I will satisfy you and show you my salvation. And that was what? Long life. So we are meant to have long life, but yet we can sow seed, we can do things that can cause an early death.
And God is not responsible for that.
No, He gave us free will. He gave us free will. And we all now know that these chickens and this meat is coming from confined feeding operations. So we have a duty to try and eat at the restaurants and buy meat that don't have those chemicals. It's almost impossible to avoid it. But you bless your food also,
Yes, you bless them.
because the word says that no poison that comes into you can do any harm to you, but you have to bless that food. But with the same thing, I say, don't bless a big cookies and cake and eat them all day, because that's disobedience. That's disobedience.
Gluttony.
Yes, it's gluttony. Yes, and the glutton
That's
shall
one
come
of
to
the
ruin. Exactly.
yes.
It's gluttony. So you have from the time I get up in the morning, everything I put in my body, it's like, okay, is this going to add to me or take away from? Is this going to be something that's going to give me nutrition? The definition of food in the dictionary is something that gives provides nutrition to a living organism. Well, if you look at a bag of crackers or chips or something, and you turn it around on the side, there's not much nutrition. It might say a little stamp on there, fortified with vitamin A or whatever, which whenever something says fortified, you need to realize that it's been stripped during the processing and they're adding it back in. It's a marketing tool, and it's a chemical additive. It's not the original
Vitamins.
form on the way it was created. So everything I do, I look at it, is this going to add to or take away from? And everybody's body can withstand a certain amount of toxic load, because we live in a toxic world, and we have to understand that, and you have to give yourself grace. You have to say, I'm at a wedding, and I'm just going to eat a little piece of the wedding cake. But I tell people this, you cannot, this is your foundation of health, and you eat bad all the time, and you go out and you have a great big salad with kale and everything for lunch, and you think you've done something good. But if your foundation is crummy, eating 1 or 2 good meals a week is not going to do anything for you. The same way is if you have a solid, firm nutritional foundation, strong gut, good vitamin D level, you have a strong foundation, and you go and you end up at a family party and they're serving food, and you go ahead and you make the best choice and you eat what you can, that's not going to ruin your foundation either. So it's all about having a good, solid foundation.
Solid foundation and choices that you make.
Yes, and when people are very sick, I love fresh juices, because when you take a juice into someone who's very sick, the body doesn't have to do all of the processing of the fiber and stuff. It just goes right into the bloodstream.
Okay, fresh.
Yes, immediately. And because then the person that's sick isn't spending so many calories trying to digest and pull the nutrients out. But at the same point, I also do some smoothies because the fiber is good also. But in the morning, I love to have a glass of green juice. My favorite recipe is
I'll ask you that.
Yes, I'll do all kinds of greens, kale and spinach and celery and cucumber. And I'm not a fan of ginger, but I know it's good for me, so I put a little ginger or turmeric. But I always put a green apple and some lemon because I just love those two. And you want to use low glycemic fruits like apples and berries and cherries, as opposed to the higher glycemic if you've got a blood sugar or you have, especially if you're dealing with cancer. I have a friend, Dr. Tony Jimenez, that has a clinic just in Mexico, just down from San Diego. And he talks about sugars, and he has a different take on them, that sugars that are created normally by
fruits
by God spin one way, and then once the sugar has been processed, it spins the other way. Like you have L-glutamine, L-lysine, these are all things that are spinning left. And once you process the sugar, it spins the other way, and that's when it becomes toxic, and it's not good for the body, and it feeds cancer cells and causes inflammation. Because I can't
probably
believe
honey in the coffee and tea is better.
if it's organic, and you have to be careful because a lot of honeys will have high fructose corn syrup in the honey.
Well,
You have to
read
you really read, and sometimes it's in there and they don't even, they don't mention it. So make sure you get organic,
The raw honey,
organic raw honey. Yeah, and you can put a little bit of that in your in your tea or your coffee. And I love using mashed banana for a sweetener in my bakes. When I bake, I have a wonderful recipe for almond flour muffins. It's just an almond flour muffin, and the only sweetener in it is some mashed banana, and it's delicious. And you're using the sugars that God created. Because I can't believe, people say, oh, you have cancer, you can't have any fruit. But God created apples and bananas. He created these things. And, anything is gluttony when you have too much of it. But I think there are good beneficial parts of those fruits. And so I absolutely believe in fruits. I try and eat an apple at least every other day.
So the cancer treatment, people say don't eat fruits?
Some of the alternative guys will say no sugar whatsoever, because we know that a cancer cell has 15 to 16 times insulin receptors of a regular cell. That's why when you have a PET scan and they give you the radioactive glucose, it's going to bind to those insulin receptors, so the cancer cells light up. But as we talked in the last segment, it has to grow for 8 to 10 years to show up on a PET scan. And you can find it so much easier with one of those tests I talk about in my book, that you don't need to wait for a PET scan.
And another thing people say, the shorter the time from the origin of food to the dining table is the best way, because you lose a lot in freezing and dehydrating it, and then the transportation. They spray so much stuff to keep it fresh longer.
And you have to think about, we live in a global community now, so we're getting fruits and vegetables all over the world. So we're getting bacteria that our body might not necessarily be used to. And it could be bacteria that's, resistant.
I always wash all my fruits in hot water.
Yes.
Real hot water, scrub it.
Yeah, I have a cloth that I buy from a company, I think it's Norex, and it's a cloth, and it's got kind of rough things on it. I use that to get the waxy. They even put wax on the organic fruit now.
Even grapes. I just dip it in the hot water and take it out.
Yes, very good. That's awesome. You can put a little vinegar in the water, even just to.
Vinegar in the water. Yes, I've heard that.
It's just we have to take care of ourselves. It's so important. If we just go along with the program that the standard American diet has led us to.
Standard American diet is take it out of the freezer, put it in the microwave, and eat it.
It's 1 out of 2 men getting cancer, 1 out of 2.5 women getting cancer. And another point that we're all going along with is thyroid medication is one of the largest prescribed medication in the country. But what are we all doing? We're using toothpaste with fluoride in it, Crest and Colgate. And so let me explain why you might want to change your toothpaste. Okay, so think about someone who has a heart attack or someone who has a heart problem. They keep some nitroglycerin tablets. And so they're getting chest pain, so they put the tablet under their tongue. And it helps, it vasodilates, and they get the blood, and they have time to get to the doctor, right? So think about how vascular the mouth is. That nitroglycerin tablet under the tongue just went right in the bloodstream. So we're taking fluoride, and we're putting that fluoride in our mouth several times a day, brushing our teeth.
Your teeth.
Okay, so if you think back to chemistry class, on that periodic table, which I have nightmares of trying to memorize that thing. I wanted to put it in alphabetical order because that would be easier for me, but you can't. It is the way it is, the charts and the graphs for a purpose. And iodine is on the chart, and that's something that the thyroid has to have to be able to produce the T3 and T4. Yes. Well, above iodine is fluoride and bromine. And there's a pecking order. So if you're brushing your teeth with fluoride toothpaste, and we know now it's getting all through the body, you're filling up those receptors on your thyroid with fluoride. So when you get the natural iodine in your foods, it's full.
It's not absorbing.
It's full. So many people are hypothyroid. And also bromine. There's a sport drink, the yellow and the orange flavors. They're using brominated oils in these sport drinks. And people are buying them for their kids that they're trying to get them to hit a home run at baseball, and they're handing them this stuff. And it's got brominated oils in it, and it's and it blocks the thyroid.
thyroid.
So something you have to think about when you talk about nutrition, not just what you eat, but anything that goes on your skin is your largest organ of your body, or anything that goes in the mouth or on the skin is also considered a food because it's getting in. So I tell people, first thing you can do, especially if you're fatigued, is go to a specialty grocery store, one that specializes in true food, and you'll have a hard time finding one with fluoride. But people don't think about that. They have their coupon, they grab their standard toothpaste, and it's got fluoride. And the science is out there.
And the dentists tell you got to have fluoride.
They're getting better.
They're putting it in the water too.
Yes, yeah. So you need to have a filter.
Yeah, they're saying that's why kids are having too many tooth problems because of the filter water, because there's no more fluoride.
No, because of the processed food is why they're having the problem. Okay, so let's talk about bone density, okay? We as Americans are the largest consumer of dairy products in the world, right? We also have the highest rate of osteoporosis.
Yes.
So you see those commercials with the milk mustache, right? Why do we drink the milk? Because we want the calcium. So why are we having mineral loss in our bone? It doesn't make sense. Again, someone's not telling the truth. Just as when they told me you've had cancer for 8 to 10 years, but yet we're just now telling you we can't find it before now. That's a lie. We can find it. I tell you in my book how to find it at year 2 or 3. Same thing with the bone loss. We're drinking the milk because we think we want the calcium. So what happens when you drink dairy or you eat dairy? Dairy is an acidifying food. It makes the body acidic. God created us to be pH neutral, 7.35, 7.45 for the blood.
Yes.
The body wants to be pH neutral. I don't care what you want to do, it's going to keep working to be pH neutral. You eat this, it's going to pull it down, make it balanced. So the easiest way for the body to be pH neutral is to pull calcium from the bones to neutralize your pH. So hence we have all these people with osteoporosis and they're having dairy because they think they're doing the dairy for their bones.
So dairy is not for the bones?
Well, it makes you acidic, and then the body will pull the calcium out of the bones to neutralize your pH.
So what should we teach?
You can get more calcium from broccoli.
So dairy is not a good thing.
We are the only species that drinks the milk of another species. And to me, a cow is a large animal. And its milk has very large proteins. A cow's milk is to make a calf into a big animal in just a few months. I'm not a big fan of cow's milk. If you're going to have milk, at least get a smaller animal that's more, proportional to us as a goat or something. Huh?
Goat milk is nasty.
Well, I just don't drink it. I don't have milk. The only dairy I do is some organic
yogurt and
butter. I do kefir because I like the little bit of probiotics in kefir.
What's
I'll do some
kefir?
You buy it. I don't know if I can say stores, but I buy it at my local store that has better foods, and I get actually a goat milk kefir because it's a smaller molecule, and it's kind of like a yogurt, but it's got probiotics in it. It's like cultured some, and I'll take that and pour it in my little jar, and I have some gluten-free granola. I put that in some berries, and I drizzle just a little honey because I get whenever you buy a yogurt or something at the grocery store, it almost always has high fructose corn syrup in it. And so many Americans now are getting what's called non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. And their doctor's telling them, hey, you have fatty liver disease. And they're like, but I don't drink. Because we used to associate fatty liver with alcohol.
Yeah.
It's the high fructose corn syrup. The high fructose corn syrup is bound. It has to go to the liver to be broken down. So it's causing stress to our liver and damage to our liver. So when you buy these yogurts and you think you're doing a good thing, read the label. I'd rather see someone get some kefir and just add a little raw honey to it. Don't get the fruit flavored ones because they're always loaded with sugar.
Yeah,
I haven't even found one that's not.
Yogurt,
and don't do low fat, do real fat.
Yeah,
your body needs the fat. Your body needs good fats. When you go to a restaurant, always ask, what kind of oil's in this salad dressing? Because you can order the most beautiful salad with diced avocado and greens and some sunflower seeds and nuts, and then they bring out the dressing and you pour it all over it. And unless it's a good oil,
like olive
you just
oil
ruined your salad because every cell has a phospholipid membrane, and we get it clogged with these bad oils. And usually, if you have to ask the waiter, you say, what type of oil is in your balsamic? And they don't know, That's not a good sign.
So don't use it.
If they have to go to the kitchen and ask, and sometime they'll come back and say, oh, it's olive oil. But I can promise you it's probably not a good olive oil.
Extra virgin.
Because everybody's got to, they've got to
money.
manage their bottom line. But, if you're eating a salad dressing that's got vegetable oil or canola oil, those are all, the canola oil is so GMO. It's just really not a good thing to have. You have to look out for yourself. They're tricking
So
you with
in
this
the
beautiful
oil-
salad, then they give you this bad dressing.
I mean, vegetable oil is good or not?
No.
Olive oil is good.
You want to do olive oil, coconut oil, grapeseed oil, the avocado oil, oils that come from the things that God made. The problem with these oils that you buy when you go down the road at the grocery store and they're all pretty and clear in these bottles is they've been altered for shelf life. And I tell people all the time, when somebody has a high C-reactive protein, not C-reactive, well, C-reactive protein is your inflammatory factor, or if your hemoglobin H1C, which is that'll tell you your average of your blood sugar. Both of those numbers, you probably are getting too many processed foods and too many bad fats. And if your cholesterol's high, you take those labs and look at those. If you can replace the bad fats with the good fats and take out all the processed
Name some of
sugars.
the good fats.
Good fats, coconut oil. I try and take a tablespoon of coconut oil every day. And if you're on a budget, go get you a little jar or a big jar. You can buy them at some of these
Whole Food has
big box stores. The extra virgin cold pressed coconut oil. It takes your makeup off. It's a great lotion. You can put it on your legs when you're going out and you're wearing your shorts or you're wearing a skirt. Makes your skin look nice. Rub it on your heels. Great for taking off the makeup. And you know how much money we spend on products.
I know.
And right there, God created a great makeup remover.
So just take that coconut oil and on a tissue or something and just
Yeah,
wipe the makeup
actually,
off.
I keep a jar in my bathroom, and I'm past the tissue. I just scoop out because it's my jar, and I just keep it in my bathroom. And when I get out of the shower, I take a scoop and I put it on my arms and legs, and yeah.
See, that's good.
And the one I have I don't smell like a pina colada. I just still smell like, it's just.
That's a good smell, pina colada is a good smell.
So, but, anyway, I love coconut oil. Extra virgin olive oil is amazing. They talk about it in the Bible. If anything that we've taken that we've altered and we processed, it's not the way God created it. God didn't tell us, okay, He created the corn. He created corn. Did He say, my corn isn't good enough. I need you guys to change that seed for me. I need you to modify that seed. I didn't do a good job. In Genesis, when God created everything, He said,
It's good.
and it is good.
It's good.
It is good.
Leave it that way.
Yes, but man has decided to change it. And so if I can leave one message, if people can get the GMO corn out of their diet, that is huge.
What is GMO corn?
Okay, it's genetically modified.
Altered, okay.
And what they do, so picture a beautiful
Cornfield.
pasture with corn, beautiful green corn, and then picture the crop duster flying along, and it's dousing Roundup on the cornfield because they want to control the weeds. But what people don't understand is the Roundup doesn't just get the weeds, it gets all of the corn plant, and it's sucked into the corn that we're eating. They get away with feeding it to us because it's per serving, it's just a low amount, but we're eating it all day. It's in everything. It's in like 90% of processed foods.
Processed food
Corn
has
is labeled many, many, many different ways. There's like 50 different names. It can just say modified
Who can
food starch.
remember?
It's corn, but you don't realize that almost all of it is genetically modified. Close to 95% of the corn crops are genetically modified. So picture the field again, the big green, beautiful corn. They've doused it with the chemical. Here comes a little bug. He's crawling up the corn stalk and he bites the leaf or bites the corn. He rolls over and he dies. His stomach explodes. So what's happening to the Americans? We have a huge onslaught of colitis, of irritable bowel syndrome, of gluten sensitivity. All these people's guts are messed up. And so we're getting this glyphosate residue, which is the active ingredient in Roundup, every time we eat the corn chips at a Mexican restaurant. I promise you they're not organic. They're not going to pay that. You better bring them in your purse.
With some queso, you can eat a whole
Moms,
bowl.
you better get a bag of corn chips or a bag of plantains. When you go out to eat, just bring them. And if the restaurant can't provide, open up your own and have your own corn chips, or ask for some sliced tomato or cucumbers to dip your guacamole with, because we're inoculating ourselves with this glyphosate or from the Roundup. And if you go to Home Depot, pick up the Roundup, turn the bottle around, on the back you'll see a little triangle, and it says call the Poison Control Center if ingested. Well, we're doing it all day, every day. It's in almost everything that we eat.
That is why people are saying avoid corn.
Unfortunately,
sad, but
and corn is actually a grain, and it's not on the gluten list, but I feel that it contains gluten. It's very sticky, and it's very it's like below wheat. It's like one of the very highest inflammatory reactors that people have. Rice is the best if you're going to eat a grain and don't want to have a reaction. I see so many girls with acne, and I just want to say, stop eating the dairy. Your face will clear up, sweetie. Please, please stop eating the dairy. But they're getting the little chocolate and the little strawberry and the little, the little milk cartons at school, and they're putting cheese on their sandwich, and we have so much acne. And a lot of times you just cut the dairy, and the skin and the skin will just get so much better. But it's all stuff that we've done, the hormones and antibiotics in the dairy.
You know, I read in your book that have your A1C checked, and if you are diabetic, then we should not avoid a lot, because diabetic people get like 4 or 5 different kind of cancers.
Yes, the research is showing that, well, it's more than that. It's just that having people with diabetes have a higher incidence of different types of cancer, especially pancreatic.
So that's why one of the reasons to lower your A1C to as normal as possible.
And you can do it on your own. You don't even have to pay a doctor. You can just cut out all the grains, because grains break down to sugar. So people tell me all the time, oh, I don't eat sugar. I'll say, well, what do you have for breakfast? Well, they have a glass of orange juice, they have a piece of whole wheat toast, and they have an egg and bacon. I'm like, okay, first of all, that piece of whole wheat toast has the same glycemic rise as one of those little Snicker bars, because they don't realize the grain breaks down to sugar, and they're drinking pasteurized orange juice. I'm like, first of all, save your money.
300.
Any kind of juice you buy in a jug is dead. It's pasteurized. It'll sit on the shelf for weeks. There's no nutrition in it. Just eat an orange, cut up an orange, and lose the toast, and eat your egg and whatever else you eat with it. But people don't realize how much sugar we're getting, and you can get your hemoglobin A1C down in 3 months just by cutting out grains, just by going grain free. And of course, if you're going to have chocolate, I tell people 85%. If it says dark, it's a trick. They're trying to make you think they're selling you a product that's healthier, but it needs to say 85%, and or more, and you will get used to it. You'll get used to it. The taste is fine. You'll get used to it, and it'll be a treat.
It will be a treat.
Yes, but don't just buy the dark chocolate, because it's usually like 57%.
Yeah, just get rid of all those treats you're going to have for the New Year's party, all those sugar stuff.
Yes, yeah. So
it is. And you look amazing.
Thank you.
You look amazing.
Thank you.
For what you have gone through, and 6 years later, it's basically what you have changed is your lifestyle.
I've had to, but I didn't know. I'm just like everyone else. I'm no different. I'm not a brilliant person. The Lord showed me. It was a lot of prayer. Lord, what can I do to help myself and help others?
What we talked about today is contained in this book, and read it, get it, or even they can order it Amazon.
Yeah, on Amazon. It's on my website. I have some interviews that I talk about different things. You can click on and listen at no charge. I think you can get the download for $9.99. Awesome. I spent 3 years writing that book, and for the cost of the book, you can save your life and get it and pass it on to everyone you know.
Everyone you know.
And give it to your doctor. Say, I want this test.
Yes.
If they won't get it for you, get a new doctor.
Jenny, thank you so much for being on Amazing Grace. It was a pleasure. And I have learned a lot reading the book and from talking to you. And I know you have been too. So when you get a chance, somebody's birthday, mom's birthday, Mother's Day, get this book. And this would save lives. And it's important. And like I always say, keep walking in the amazing grace of God. And remember, amazing grace is the bridge that bridges the gap between man and God.